It's Monday, Memorial Day, and today, like I've been doing every Memorial Day for the last 12 years since I moved back here to this town, taking a ride down to the local cemetery where a lot of soldiers and servicemen and women are buried to pay my respect. I used to live right over by the cemetery. It's kind of how it started. It's just a little something that I do. It's not much, but it's my way of showing respect and appreciation. What's really sad to me is a lot of people have to get on Facebook and see the memes, see the postings that other people put on there of these sad pictures of military service members, you know, kneeling by the flag or kneeling by a war memorial, something like that, just to remind people that this is what Memorial Day is all about. It's not about burgers and beers and camping and, you know, big giant RVs that cost more than most people's homes do. It's about the military people who have lost their lives or limbs and given everything that they had to keep this country safe. So this is where I come to every single year. I was mistaken today because I thought that this happened on Saturday. So I don't want to be riding through here making noise and stuff while they're doing all that. And now I kind of want to go over there, but services have already started, so I'll just kind of hang back here and observe from afar. That is pretty cool. I've been here in years past, and this year is a really good turnout. I have never seen this many cars here for this service before. Anyways, looks like I showed up a little late for the service, but there's a lot of people here today, which is good. It's nice to see people actually show up to these things. And I'm going to get out of here before traffic gets too heavy. On a side note, the cemetery next door, Calvary, I was over there one day when I had first started riding motorcycles, and it was a Saturday morning, probably about 8 or 8:30 in the morning. I was on my Ninja just riding around early in the morning, and I decided to stop in over there to kind of take a break and just relax for a few minutes. And I had a pretty interesting thing happen. Now, I don't know about any of you out there believe in the supernatural or ghosts or spirits or anything else like that, but I'm gonna come back here one of these days when it's not busy, maybe next Saturday or on a weekend sometime, and I have a pretty cool ghost story to tell everybody. It's a good thing I brought this bike and not my Z125. I'd be pissing people off with that thing. So anyways, I'll come back over here one of these days and kind of recreate the ghost story and tell it how as best as I remember it anyways. See that place right there? That big wall? When I was younger, probably, I don't know, 18 years old or so, we used to know a dude that lived there, and he had this really hot sister or an aunt or some shit like that. Anyway, she was 10 or 12 years older than us, but she was like super hot, so we'd go over there and hang out sometimes, and me and my buddy would stand up on top of that wall and as the cars would go by, we'd spit loogies at them It's the stupid shit like that you do when you're a kid just to entertain yourself. Yes, we were some gross fuckers. That's not the worst thing I ever did in this town, though. I grew up here. I lived in a town just north of here called Sela from probably like the time that I was just a little tiny shithead up until I was 14 years old. My mother worked for AT&T, and she got a transfer through her job to go work in Aurora, Colorado. So when I was 14 years old, my parents, it first started out as my mom and my brother went down there and they got an apartment, while my dad and myself and one of my sisters stayed behind here, you know, taking care of getting the house all packed up and everything. But so I ended up living down there for quite a while after I was 14 years old, and I traveled once I got my driver's license, which is another funny story because I had my driver's license suspended before I even had it. But once I did get my driver's license, I traveled back and forth between the Denver area and this little town that I live in now where I grew up. So I did a lot of traveling back and forth, and as I did that, I always thought, you know, if I ever came back to this town after I moved away, that I'd still hang out with my high school friends and junior high friends. But when I came back, I didn't hardly talk to any of them. I spoke to one or two of them once or twice, but that was it. So I ended up meeting a whole new group of friends through the CB radio, which is still, it was pretty big back in the early 90s. Everybody had a CB in their car. If you were a teenager and you lived here or down in Colorado, that's how people, you know, talk to each other. That's how you'd meet new people. This is obviously before the internet and cell phones and texting and all that stuff, and it was great because you could hop in your car and drive around all night and pick up the radio and just start talking to just start talking to random people and meet cool people and just go hang out and party with these people you didn't even know, but they're all like-minded. And I don't think I've ever met, you know, one dickhead through all the people that I met on the CB radio. Everybody was really cool and laid back and just wanted to have fun. I mean, you know, we all smoked back then, we all drank back then, and we drove these beat up old cars. I used to drive muscle cars all the time, you know, Mustangs and Falcons and Fairlanes and a couple Dodge Darts. So it was really fun just meeting people and hanging out with them. And every friend that I have to this day, they're all people that I met, you know, 25 years ago on the radio. And it's too bad you can't do stuff like that anymore. You know, kids, they get stuck in their houses and they don't have too much of a social life. If you're kind of a, you know, a loner type like me, there's really no easy way of meeting people face to face and hanging out with them, unless you, you know, maybe you game or you know, play on Xbox Live or PS4 or something like that, and you can get to know people. But chances are all those people that are on there, you know, miles and miles away from you, states away from you, you know, even different countries in some cases. Whereas back in the CB radio days, you know, those things got a range of like 5 or 10 miles. So if you found somebody to talk to, chances are they're pretty close to you. So you can get on there and just start bullshitting with people and end up meeting up with them. And sometimes you got along, sometimes you didn't, but it was never, to me anyways, wow. I used to have an old green Mustang just like that. It was never a really bad experience. Obviously back then, you know, there were still these cliques. You're either part of the, you know, like the country boys, the cowboys, or you're part of the, I don't know what you might want to call them, stoners, the long hairs. And that's the group of guys that I kind of hung out with, the girls and guys. Listened to heavy metal music, drank, smoked cigarettes. Like I said, drove piece of shit muscle cars. And I met a couple of guys that weren't, you know, all that friendly and things, but for the most part, everybody I met was really cool. And still hang out with them and talk to them to this day. Not all of them. I mean, gosh, I knew 30, 40 people that I met over the radio. And the nice thing about the CB radio back in the day when it was popular is it wasn't just a bunch of guys hanging out on there. There's a bunch of girls hanging out on there too. So if you've had any sort of game back in those days and you had a CB radio, man, you'd never run out of women to date. It's pretty cool Camaro. So today was my Memorial Day ride. And I guess I could be wrong, but I thought every year when I'd go over there to that cemetery, Memorial Day Monday, I mean, maybe I'm just thinking wrong, but every time I'd been there before for my ride every year, there's, you know, nobody there, and I can just kind of walk around and pay my respects for things. But maybe I'm thinking wrong. Maybe I'd go there on the Saturday before Memorial Day or something. But it is nice to see that many people there for the services. So anyways, I'm going to call that quits to this video. Shut it off now so I don't ramble on forever and end up having to edit an hour and a half worth of footage like I usually always do, cutting it down into 10 minutes.